This homework question came into me in the form of an Ask My Instructor, and I want to thank the student who sent this to me. This is a fun problem, and maybe you're not seeing it as so much fun because when you first start seeing some of these problems, it might feel frustrating. But let me tell you about a little bit more about this problem. This is really not so much tied to the 11.4 content, which is where this problem came from. It's more so just a quantitative reasoning question that comes up and really pulls you to embrace the problem solving guidelines. So let's just do a quick review of those guidelines. This is George Pulya's 4 problem solving steps. And his first step, the first step that he gave us was understand the problem. So we want to read this problem and make sure we understand what it's asking. So let's read it. All Harold's ties are red except for 2. They're all blue except for 2, and they're all brown except for 2. So how many ties does Harold have? What I know, what I can gather from this, is that he has at least 3 ties, right? I know he has red ties, blue ties, and brown ties, at least one of each. And I can read this to see what's the question. How many does he have? How many ties does he have? So I feel like I have a good understanding of what the problem is asking, and I have a good understanding of what I'm given. I'm given that there's at least one red, blue, and brown tie, but how many are there of each? Now, the second step is to devise a plan. Now, my plan, you can see it over here that I've already started it, is going to be to make a chart. So I've started out with, let's just say with 5 of each tie. And I'm going to read through each qualification, each piece of information I have, and I'm going to just rule out the ties as I go. So I know there might be more than 5, but probably not too many more than 5 of each. But I'm going to mark them off as I go. So let's go ahead and carry out this problem. All Harold's ties are red except for 2. So I know, I don't know how many red ties he has, but I know that he has no more than 2 other ties. So do you see that what that allows me to do is mark off these. He has 2 more ties, right? Besides what he has, it's red. He has 2 more. And so they might be 2 blue, or they might be 2 brown. So I know for sure there's no more than 2 blue or brown. So now I've used this one. All the ties are red except for 2. All the ties are blue except for 2. So now I know that I could rule these out, right? And why could I rule those out? Because if he has, let's say that he has 2 blue ties left, I know that there's no more than 2 additional ties. And now when we get to this last one, so we could say that we've used up the information that we had for blue. All of his ties are brown except for 2. Well, here's where I recognize that there's a problem. They're all brown except for 2. I know he has red ties and I know he has blue ties. So at most, he could only have 1 of each, because if all of them are brown except for 2, I've got to scratch these off now. So it looks like maybe, don't write it down yet, but maybe there's 2 brown, 2 blue, and 2 red. But let's go back and read each piece again and make sure it fits, because now I'm going to check the results. And to do that, let me switch back here. All his ties are red except for 2. Well, do you see that I have a problem here? That I know he's got red, blue, and brown, but he can't have a blue and 2 brown. So now I can see, well, now it looks like at most he has 1 of each. So let's start over again and check out whether that works. All his ties are red except for 2. yes, that qualification is met. All his ties are blue except for two. Yes, I can see that except for his blue tie, there's only two others. So I could say that yes, that second qualification is met. And now the third qualification, all his ties are brown except for two. I can see that yes, that qualification is also met. So it looks as if I have in fact answered the question. Well, I've not answered it, but my chart is accurate. So now let's answer the question. A really good practice is to answer with therefore. You could write out the word therefore, or you could use this neat math symbol. It's a triangle made out of 3 dots, and that in mathematics means therefore. Looks like he must have 1 red, 1 blue, and 1 brown tie. He must have it. He must have 1 of each of those colors. How many ties does he have? So he has 3 ties. I think when you go to type this in, I think it's going to actually ask you to say how many of each one. But I hope that this video was helpful to you, and let me know if you need any further assistance.